What is your purpose for buying a laptop? Is that for gaming, office work, all around use, or rendering and designing? There are several categories of laptops. One of them is the notebook, which refers to a full-size laptop that balances portability and functionality. They can vary significantly in size and specification, such as processor speed, storage capacity, memory, and screen size. The second category is an Ultrabook. This ultra-portable notebook must meet the specific criteria for various things such as size or weight, battery life, and type of chipset. This kind of laptop will significantly lighter and smaller compared to full-size laptop. The third category of laptop is convertible or hybrid, which refer to two-in-one combination of tablet and notebook. They can quickly switch between touchscreen tablet mode and traditional keyboard mode. The most reasonable budget for students to buy laptops is the price range from about Rm 1,500 to 5,000. Here is some of the example. Moving on, the minimal requirement for a university student's laptop is a mid-range laptop. It is aimed at regular computer users who can run most software and games but will struggle to do high-end work such as video editing and games that require fast graphic processing. Before purchasing a laptop, it is necessary to do some homework with reading or watching reviews for the laptop. Read up tech review articles or watch some video reviews on YouTube for varying depths of analysis. This way you can get more realistic grasp of the pros and cons of the laptop. The second thing that you can do is understand your spec. Please get to know the various specifications of the laptops, at least on the surface, so you can understand what each spec does for the laptop and how important it means to you. Do look up laptops components like GPU, CPUs, and memory to know your needs acceptable spec. However, it would be best to note that sometimes higher spec mean only marginal improvement that may not even be noticeable depending on your usage.
Now, let's take a look about laptop size and weight. There is three types of laptop size. First is small. Small is about 11 to 14 inches and the thinness and the lightness systems, usually for students and those who prioritize power in a small package. It's easily carried away when you are on the move and fit perfectly into small places. Medium size for home office, family calls, and also on the go. The average size laptop this combine portable design with larger screen. Sweet spot for this kind of laptop for home life but big enough for proper work. Last but not least, the large is 17 inches to 18 inches, basically ideal for complex tasks, spreadsheets, and creative projects. This is what makes laptop weight. It is because of its design. Premium laptops are today made from lightweight materials like magnesium and carbon fiber. Lightweight, durable, and stylish. Secondly, thickness. Ultra-thin laptops weigh considerably less than thicker models. Thickness can depend on the internal components, ports, and more. Thin laptop easily on to sleep any workplace. Storage also gives the reason. Traditional hard drives are much bigger and heavier than solid-state drive, SSD. They can be an almost 0.5 kg difference. SSDs faster and lighter. And last but not least, ports. The thinness and lightness laptops sacrifice ports as a compromise for reducing total weight. Thunderbolt 4 is a single port that can transfer data and share screen.
What is GPU? GPU, Graphic Processing Unit. GPU also called Visual Processing Unit, VPU. GPU is a processor for 2D or 3D graphic, video, visual computing and display. It's highly parallel, highly multi-threaded, multi-processor optimizer for visual computing. It also serves as both a programmable graphic processor and a scalable parallel computing platform. Okay, next is physical view of a GPU. GPU has a video memory, GPU heatsink, AGP, DVI, S-video, and VGA.
Hi there, I'm Hdmi from FSMP, metric number of BN20110099. And yeah, I'm here to actually talk about CPU. So let's no further ado, let's continue into our topic. So yes, a CPU, this is a CPU, and there are mainly two types of CPU, which is the Ryzen one, and of course the Intel one, which are the two major brands for CPUs. And of course, CPU is actually called the central processing unit, which the CPU itself, C for central, P for processing, and U for unit. And it's mainly known as the brain of the computer because it actually processes all the programs and background apps for your computer to actually operate. So what actually varies from a series of CPUs to the another is because of the core counts itself, which may actually mainly in laptops, which may vary from 4 cores to 16 cores. And of course, the more core counts, the better the multitasking ability, especially for multi-browser usage and video rendering. So mainly there are two types, as I mentioned just now. You have the Intel I series, mainly we found in most laptops, and of course nowadays, but what we saw in the market would be the AMD Ryzen series. So for students like us, i5 from Intel or R5 from AMD Ryzen series would be sufficient for us. And of course, when you saw about the spec itself, apart from the core counts, you may actually see higher base clock speeds, which provides shorter processing time, and that contributes to single core performance, mostly in gaming. So they are mainly divided into three types of categories, which you can find on the market, which is H, U, and G. So H processors are actually standing for high performance CPUs, which are the most powerful among the three that we commonly find in the market for laptops. So, but there are also the disadvantages of it because it has a much shorter battery life due to its high performance. So that's the exchange for it. And it has a very high power consumption, and it's very prone to overheating because when you need a lot of power, the power will actually be transferred into heat energy. So it's like it's like science from electric energy to heat energy. So yeah, the more power it uses, the more it prone to overheating. And of course, the H processors laptops are also very costly in price. For example, like with an RTX series of graphics card in a laptop and equipped with an i5 H processor, you may find a laptop costing around 4,000, in the range of 4,500 to 5,000. So the examples of H processors you can find on the market, which you can actually find on laptops itself, were i5 9300H, i7 10750H, R5 4600H, and R7 5800H. So the next one will be U processors, which I think most of us would actually choose because although it stands for ultra low performance, it actually has the longest battery life amongst the three, which is actually sufficient for daily use because most of the time we are using for web browsing, documentations, and actually for some light gaming, which is actually sufficient for us. So the catch is that it has the lowest performance amongst the three processors, And yeah, it's also the most common processor we can actually find, and it also has some of the lowest price points in the market itself. So the examples are actually i5 8th Gen 265U, i7 10th Gen 510U, and so on. And there's another new one, which is actually called a G processor, which stands for Integrated Graphics Memory Processor, which actually means literally it has integrated graphic memory with its own processor, its own CPU, as we say. Although it may have a lower performance than H processors, but it has a higher processing power or performance than U processors. But the only catch is that Intel only provides such CPUs. So if you are finding for a G processor, for now, you can only find these processors from Intel. So the processors examples from Intel of G1s were like i5 10th Gen 35G7 and i7 10th Gen 65G7. So that's it from my presentation. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll pass it to the next person. Thank you.
Next, we will talk about the RAM. The RAM that pre-installed on the laptop comes in various sizes, such as 4GB, 8GB, or 16GB. For student normal use, it's recommended to pick the laptop come with at least 8GB of RAM to make sure students not facing any lagging issue in their daily use. While for students who want to do some rendering, editing, or other professional use, bigger RAM size is always recommended. Students should also consider to pick the laptop which support the RAM upgrade. For some laptops, the RAM is soldered on the motherboard. It means the RAM is not upgradable. For those laptops which support RAM upgrade, you can perform the RAM upgrade later up to 64GB. Also, some laptops have 2 RAM slots and some laptops has only 1 RAM slot on the motherboard. If you got enough of budget, it will also recommend to upgrade the RAM become dual channel because it will improve the performance of the laptop. Next, there were 3 types memory mass storage, which are SSD, HDD, and SSHD. It used to save all of our data, document, and file. They all have different sizes, such as 128GB, 256GB, 512GB, 1TB, 2TB, and more. The first one, SSD. SSD is better than HDD and SSHD, but is also more expensive than the others. SSD was fast, and it also helped to improve the laptop performance, especially on the Windows 10. And the second one, HDD. HDD is a lot cheaper than the SSD, but it's also slower than the SSD. HDD is more fragile, which if we drop our laptop, it may cause to the data losing. And the last one, SSHD. SSHD is a mix of HDD and SSD. It is faster than HDD, but is still slower than the SSD. So, for the storage of the laptop, students should consider to pick the laptop which come with at least 512GB of storage, and SSD will be their first choice.
All peripherals need a way to connect to a computer. So let's take a look at a different type of parts and connectors. First is the most common of all USB. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus, and it's a type of connector found not only on computer peripherals, but gaming consoles, TV, DVDs, and Blu-rays, players, car audio systems. USB is nearly everywhere when you see a port that looks like this on the back of a computer, regardless of the color. That's a USB port. It's worth mentioning that the USB port on the device that you want to connect to might look different from this. There are actually a number of different types of USB connectors. Here's a quick look at some of the bummers. about all of the USB connectors is that if you try to plug them in the newest version of USB called USB-C. This is the newest and latest type of USB port that is fast replacing the USB Type A on laptops and Type B on other devices. Unlike the rectangle shaped Type A with 4-pin connector, USB-C is slimmer, smaller, and comes with 24 pins which make it handle higher currents and faster transfer speed. Now to connect our computer to a monitor, there are several possibilities. For many years, the 15 pins VGA ports was the standard, and you will still sometimes see it in use today on all computers and projectors. This type of connectors, however, is limited in terms of the screen resolution and the quality that it can support, which is something we will talk more about later, but for this reason, it's generally not found on new products anymore. Next is DVI port, which come in a new different variation, some of which suffer from the same limitations as the VGA connectors. For this reason, this type of connector is also becoming less common, by far the most common connector for connecting a display, whether it's a computer monitor or a widescreen TV, is an HDMI port. HDMI is fully digital and it supports high resolution displays and can also carry audio. You will find HDMI ports on just about every new TV and computer monitor these days. HDMI cables and connectors comes in a few different sizes in order to accommodate different size devices. The final video connector will look at this called Displayport. Displayport isn't as common as HDMI, but hopefully it will be because it is actually better in a couple of ways, supporting even higher resolutions and frame rates. Displayport comes in two sizes, and if you are a Mac user, you will probably recognize the smaller of the two called Mini DisplayPort. Speaking of Mac, it's worth noting that the Mini DisplayPort on newer Macs is also a Thunderbolt port. Thunderbolt port, which is indicated by the little lightning bolt symbol. Thunderbolt is a type of connection created by Apple that is very high speed and allow you to connect many devices to just one port. Turning to audio, we have got our standard size of the 3.5 millimeters headphone jack. Some computers also have an integrated SD card reader, which can make it easier to copy photos from a digital camera to your computer. Some devices can be connected to computer without having to use any sort of cable at all. The same common way to connect device wirelessly to your computer is to use Bluetooth. Power port as laptop are portable device, so it has to be charged time and again. So we use power port for charging laptop batteries, connect one end to AC power socket and other end to the power supply unit. The most common way to connect device wirelessly to your computer is to use Bluetooth. A Bluetooth device uses radio wave instead of wires or cables, and there are many devices that support Bluetooth, including cell phones, headsets, keyboards, mice, portable speakers, car audio systems, and more. Bluetooth typically has a range of about 30 feet, so your device have to be somewhat close together in order to stay connected. Finally, there is the wireless connection that we all probably already familiar with Wi-Fi. Its primary purpose to connect computers and some other devices like phones and tablets to networks and to the internet, unlike Bluetooth, which allow devices to connect directly to one another. Wi-Fi use a wireless router that all the different devices then connect to in order to communicate with one another. This result is greater wireless range, especially if you have more than one router and much faster data transfer speeds, but it's all dependent on having the wireless router. For this reason, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth serve very different purpose. Wi-Fi is used to connect devices to network and to the internet, and Bluetooth is used to connect devices directly to a variety of peripherals. This concludes our discussion of computer ports and connection.
Battery and charging. Inside the laptop, battery is as important as processor and RAM. Most of the battery in laptop can last for 8 to 10 hours and is usually marked as a 3 cent, 6 cents, or 9 cent battery. There are currently three types of batteries commonly used for laptop, which is nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride, and lithium ion. A laptop that can last for more than an hour without a trip to a power plug. A laptop battery should last between 4 years and above, or around 1000 full charges. Total lifespan depends on the battery type, how you treat the laptop, and how often you use your laptop. Higher performing laptops use more power and may perform less efficient while offering shorter battery life. A good and powerful laptop can help us with whatever assignment or jobs that we are going to do. For example, new Huawei MacBook 13 is one of the best laptops to have. The Huawei MacBook 13 comes with a 65-watt fast charging USB-C portable adapter, which can easily charge the laptop up to full again. So, as a student, your best plan is to get a laptop with a battery that lasts a full 8 hours or more and fast charging. With him a fast charging and long battery life laptop, we can complete the task or assignment efficiently.
After service laptop maintenance tip. If you are going to travel, please remove any CD, DVDs, and thumb drive that might be in your computer and protect them properly. You also need to turn the laptop off. Don't simply put it in sleep or standby mode. Second is extreme temperature or temperature swing can have an effect on laptop. If you will just brought your laptop indoors from a very cold day, you should not turn it on until it has had a chance to warm up and reach room temperature. That might take some time if it been freezing outside. That is, a notebook screen is its most fragile and risk component, and it can be cracked and damaged easily. Clean it only with approved solution or monitor wipe. Don't touch the screen with pens or any pointer that can scratch the surface. You should not put a laptop close to appliances that generate a strong magnetic field, such as television, larger speakers, and even some high-tech refrigerators. You should even avoid putting your cell phone on top of your laptop while both are on. Keep the lid closed as often as you can, which helps to limit the amount of dust that can settle on keyboard, save battery life, and prevents the keyboard from an accidental coffee spill. Last is laptop can overheat more easily than a desktop computer. You should not set one on a blanket, pillow, or other non-flat surface that could prevent sufficient ventilation.